Hey everybody, it's Dan Blackwell. I just had a Zoom recording with Marco Vartanian, the president of Sullivan Property Management Company here in Orange County. And Marco shared his insights for rent collections for the month of May. Some really good information was shared. I think you're going to enjoy the video. Check it out. Hey everyone, it's Dan Blackwell, and today is Tuesday, May 5th, and I'm talking with Marco Vartanian, president and owner of Sullivan Property Management, that's covering the markets of Orange County and LA County. And Marco has been in the real estate business for well over 20 years in various capacities and is a very successful operator and also investor. Marco, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate you. Hey, so real quick, a little bit about Sullivan is that right now, currently, you're managing approximately 1,500 units. Can you share a little bit before we go into today's subject on May rent collections? Can you share a little bit about your company?
Sure, absolutely. Sullivan's been in business since 1976. We're based in Santa Ana. We're one of Southern California's oldest property management companies. And I had the great fortune of acquiring the company last year from Joe Sullivan, our founder. And, my background is in institutional apartments and housing. And being from Southern California, my true passion is our market. And I'm really excited to lead and build our company. We've grown quite a bit. Our business has grown about 40% over the last 10 months. And we just continue each day to work with owners closely, working with residents, ensuring that we have the best people on board, and that's our basic recipe for our success and our growth.
That's great. So we're here today to talk about May rent collections, and as mentioned, it's May 5th. It's a little early, but we wanted to kind of talk about how are rent collections going thus far on your end.
I mean, generally, we made it through April, and that was surprising. I think we expected more chop in our April collections, and we finished April with we at about 98.5% of our collections, and so we were pleased with the April results, but certainly braced ourselves for May. Here, 5 days into May, we're running right at about 91% of our collections. Which has also been a good sign so far. So we feel pretty good where we're at 5 days in. That said, like closing the gap this month on what's still outstanding, it's a slog. And like working with the tenants who have been directly impacted, we just continue to make the calls, knock on the doors from a 6-foot distance, of course, but the key right now has been communication. And I think that's been the big difference. And having those good tenant relationships and the tenant rapport going into COVID has helped because it's obviously difficult to start to install stronger collections practices in the middle of COVID. We were pretty tight on our expectations with the landlord-tenant arrangement going in, and I think that helped us. That said, we're not impervious, and I want you to know, Dan, I don't view our results as a victory lap we are very cautious and optimistic, some based on what we're seeing here in the first 5 days, but we're still continuing to brace for some tail effect of COVID. But so far, it does show that, being in the shelter business during the pandemic has so far proven to hold water. And I think we'll continue to see similar outputs over the next 2 to 6 months and start to get some semblance of normalcy as our tenants and our buildings start to, people start to finally get back to work and start to leave the premises. Hopefully we can start to get some semblance around our operating practices too.
Well, that's great news thus far, 91%. And it's interesting to see how that's going to end up as we, get through May. Do you anticipate that's going to be pretty close to where April was at this point? You feeling?
Yeah, I think we'll see some additional attrition in May. I don't think we'll see 98.5. I think we'll probably finish somewhere around 95, 96. It was interesting in April that Oh, by the way, we were about the same collections, within 1% of our collections 5 days in for April of where we are in May. We're actually slightly ahead, I think, in May. That could be attributable to some of the stimulus that's been out there for the residents. We've also had a whole month of educating residents on our practice and, the different changes we've made and our options for paying rent, our expectations post-COVID. So I think so much of this, it's funny that it's just about communication relationships. Like, I wish I could tell you there's like some secret data science or some sauce that allowed all this to come together, but we just work our tail off to stay in front of the residents and work with them. The residents that have been impacted, we've been quick to come up with payment agreements and, as short as we can, forbearance programs. But those are tied to, payment of a fairly large percentage of rent for the current month. And so, it's just, I don't know, it's like an old adage, you communicate and do the best you can and do the right thing by your customers. And they know that, and we're all in this thing together.
Yeah, no, that's great. What else is maybe on your mind, on the back of your mind, as we kind of go through this pandemic? Is there any other potential ripple effects that may come up?
Yeah, look, the resident, as I said, so far has proved resilient through the first couple months. I think concern is leasing velocity. Leasing velocity has slowed down about 50% for the last couple months. So that's an area, if we start to see that continue to slow, and then the spillover effect of pricing if demand isn't there. Wear and tear on the buildings is significant when you have our type of buildings are not brand new, and they are not used to the demands of all of our residents being home at the same time, day after day after day. And so I think some of the long-term maintenance that we'll need to catch back up with is a concern, because access has been an issue. A lot of tenants, rightfully so, like, they don't want our maintenance technicians, our in-house maintenance people, and in their units. But what has been interesting, Dan, is over the last 10 to 14 days, we've noticed there's been some normalization around that. We're seeing more work order volume, kind of things get back to normal. I think what you're seeing is the residents start to adapt and recognize, hey, we want people properly masked, properly sanitized. We're obviously doing everything we can on our side. And the residents are becoming a bit more comfortable with that arrangement. And also some of it's just necessity. Like, if you're going on 8 weeks of being home in your unit, your apartment every day, you're going to have some issues that, some of our work order volume is just out of pure necessity. So we have to get in there and get repairs done. Those would be the two areas I think are on my mind. And then the other piece is June. What happens in June? And, it's funny, we all said, well, what about May? And I'm already thinking, okay, well, if we get back to work and there's not enough economic demand, does then that have a tail effect on residents all over again? If the economy, gets back, but then business owners start to contract. Anyway, these are the types of things that, we're
Good point.
Keeping me up at night, Dan.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway,
it's really good information.
Questions. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. This is really good real-time information. We appreciate you hopping on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And we would love to get more intel from you as this kind of progresses. But thanks so much for jumping on, Marco, and sharing your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Like I said, this is real-time feedback. We're braced for things to have some chop and challenge, but this is real time of what we're seeing on the front lines of the last 2 months.
Well, thanks so much, Marco. We really appreciate you. We're going to provide your contact info here at the bottom. So if anybody needs to reach out to you regarding management or any specific questions, they know how to get a hold of you.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Okay.